So the World Test Championship is a goner, and now we are heading towards the 50 overs ODI World Cup. But before that, there's another equation that needs to be solved, and that is the World Cup qualifiers, which starts this Sunday. Joining me is one of those man who knows the ins, the nooks and corners about cricket West Indies, which the team which is going to be a part of the cricket World Cup qualifiers. So firstly, you might this is a phase which might be quite familiar with a lot of you guys if you're an avid cricket fan. And in case if you're an avid cricket West Indies fan, then I'm damn sure you know this guy who is sharing the screen with me. Well, he is someone who's worked with BD Sport, is someone who's been a part of ICC, the Under 19 World Cup, has been a part of the digital team, if I'm not wrong. And also, he's currently, if I'm not wrong, he's a commentator with Cricket West Indies. Joining by my side is none other than a good friend, Joel Manning. Joel, a very good morning, and I hope everything's all right after the World Test Championship, though it doesn't matter to you a lot, I feel.
Good morning, RG. Definitely, all is well over on this side of the world. I'm currently in Barbados at the moment.
All right. So how are the preparations going on over there at the moment?
In terms of the preparations, I'd say they're coming along well for the West Indies. Obviously, a team that is touted and slated to do well in the qualifiers, given the history, given where they find themselves, as well in terms of in comparison to the other teams that will be playing in the qualifiers as well. Recently completed a 3-0 sweep, I guess you can call it, the UAE. And obviously that was, I guess you would say, expected, given that the UAE is one of the newer teams to come into the cricket sphere, and they aren't necessarily as strong in terms of their depth of talent in comparison to the West Indies. So it was an expected result, but I would say that the preparations are coming along quite well going towards the World Cup. Obviously, the squad will have a few more inclusions as we get over to Zimbabwe. In fact, they're actually in Zimbabwe now. So yeah, a couple faces, familiar faces joining that squad and bolstering what we would have had in the UAE also.
Yeah, and also now a new coach, a new setup. Daren Sammy with the white ball coach for D20 and ODI format. So how do you look things now? We all know that he's a two-time World Cup winning captain of West Indies, and now he's coaching the setup. So it's a very good opportunity for the younger ones and the ones who are there, the senior ones, to learn from him and to get the equation how to win a World Cup or how to win a trophy or get to the next level. If I can sum up that way.
Yeah, it certainly is a fantastic opportunity having Daren Sammy on board. I had a chance to talk to him, I would say maybe about 2 weeks ago, doing a live for the West Indies, and he was really optimistic in terms of what he might be able to do coming into the setup. He was saying, you know what, obviously a lot of persons are looking for West Indies to just get back to, what we call those glory days almost, and not just glory days in terms of, results, in terms of our positioning, but more so in terms of the results, because the results haven't been with the West Indies at the moment. But he said, well, you know what, you kind of have to just temper those expectations for a bit and take them one step at a time. So the first step, obviously, are these qualifiers. And he said, you know what, he thinks he has the squad required to do the job to qualify. He knows that he has the talent. He knows that he has the personalities. And when you merge somebody like Daren Sammy, who's very passionate about cricket, and not just passionate about cricket, passionate about West Indies cricket on a whole, you merge that with the existing talents that we have. Certainly, I do think that the future, and when I say future, I mean the qualifiers, look quite bright for us.
Yeah, definitely. Even I do believe so. West Indies have got a few difficult tasks. I mean, not difficult, but might be trickier. They have got Zimbabwe, they've got Netherlands, if I'm not in their own group. So those are two teams that you can look out for. Like, I think I'm looking for a head-to-head good competition, good battle. But nonetheless, if you look at on paper, we know West Indies is a much better side. They have recently toured Zimbabwe for the test side, and we've seen the performances over there as well.
Yeah, we definitely seen some good performances over in Zimbabwe from the West Indies. But the one thing that I always tell people about the qualifiers is that there's nothing easy about them. I always say that, funny enough, I think the qualifiers are sometimes harder than the World Cup itself. And it's interesting because it's filled with teams who, this is their moment, When you talk about the likes of the Netherlands, you talk about the likes of Scotland, all these teams, Nepal, etc. These are teams that don't play as much cricket as the West Indies or the other countries. And these qualifiers are their moment. I remember Ireland made a comment in terms of when they had to play that one-off test versus England. You know, they said, whether we win this or lose this, it doesn't really matter. What matters for us is qualifying for that World Cup, getting onto the big stage, because that's the times that the world gets to see the type of cricket that we have to offer. So certainly there's going to be nothing easy about these qualifiers, and West Indies certainly can't go into it thinking, well, we are ranked pretty much one of the highest teams in this tournament. Only Sri Lanka there in terms of rankings that, you know, is up there with the West Indies. And I don't think that I should take that and say, well, hey, we're up there in the rankings, so it should be a very easy, breezy time for us. No, trust me, it is going to be, I guess, what people consider almost to be a dogfight, almost, with people just fighting for moments and fighting for opportunities.
Yeah, very well summed up, Joel. And talk about what Ireland had mentioned, you know, a few days back. That's very correct. You know, they played a test against England. It doesn't really matter. What matters is the ODI qualifier. But again, and that is one of the reasons why they didn't have Joshua Little in the squad. And when I tell about missing, like Joshua Little was missing from that squad. So there's another guy who's missing from this ODI World Cup squad and the qualified squad, and that is Gudakesh Motie. He has come up the ranks in the last few years by leaps and bounds, you know. And the X factor I think he carried was he was someone who picked a lot of wickets in the recently Zimbabwe tour. And where is qualifiers happening? It's right in Zimbabwe. So no Gudakesh Motie, and the replacement is Johnson Charles, an experienced bloke. He's a power hitter at the top of the order, but I would like to know your views about it.
You know, well, we lost Gudakesh Motie, who was somebody who did well in Zimbabwe previously. I think he maybe picked up maybe about 19 wickets or so in that test series. Had a 7-wicket haul and a 6-wicket haul, if I'm correct on those stats. And he would have been certainly looking forward to that opportunity to play once again in Zimbabwe, having fond memories of over there. I do know, though, that for some time he's been carrying an injury, because I know going into the Headley Week Strike series, he had a bit of an injury, and, you know, he was working on a bit of rehab, you know, to ensure that he could have been ready for those qualifiers. I think he just probably played the one unofficial test versus Bangladesh, and I am pretty sure that it was kind of because of that injury that he was carrying. So it's a little unfortunate that he will not be there, replaced by Johnson Charles. And it's a very interesting replacement, to be honest, because obviously it is a spinner being replaced by an opening batter. And I think that is a lot of the conversation people are having at the moment. Playing in Zimbabwe, wickets that you probably think might be conducive to a bit of spin, you know, another bowling option would have probably been preferred. But I think it was maybe a case of Johnson Charles, you know, had some good performances in the UAE. And it was a case of, in terms of the timeline to get somebody from the Caribbean over to Zimbabwe in time to be ready for those qualifiers, maybe that could be the reason why we've seen the inclusion of Johnson Charles, given that he was already on that side of the world, just had to travel across with the remainder of the team over to Zimbabwe. So I think maybe that is the reason. And it's going to be very interesting, because I guess when we talk about the team a little bit later in this show, I am not sure where Johnson Charles might fit into the equation as a batter.
Yeah, that's the main question. You know, if you have Johnson Charles, he's X factor for you, but where you fit him? And the top, I think they have West Indies have a lot of top order batters in Brandon King, who has been superb for them. Kyle Mayers, he's been included again, like he's back, and why not after such a blissful performance in the IPL, and he can also give you that bowling option with the new ball. So coming back, let's come to this. Let's build a team. If we talk about the playing 11 of West Indies, you know, so how can it be? Like, who are the players who you see getting shortlisted for the top 11 names?
All right, so in terms of a possible 11 for, I guess, the first game of the qualifiers, for sure you have to have Brandon King at the top of that order. And you mentioned Kyle Mayers, and for me, he has to be there as well, because Kyle Mayers, for me, he packs that punch, and he, for me, is an X factor with the bat and with the ball. So at the top of the order, especially given the type of form that he's coming off of in terms of the IPL, we've seen what he can do in a few ODIs and T20s that the West Indies have played recently. He has to be there as well. I think that probably they might go with Shamar Brooks once again, batting at 3. And then Shai Hope, somebody who was opened before. I'm pretty sure we realized that in recent times. He's kind of slotted himself down the order.
He's sacrificing for the youngsters, I guess.
Yeah, pretty much. But honestly, he's still quite fantastic batting at 4 as well. In terms of his stats, his average is no real different when he's batting at 4 in comparison to when he's been opening the batting. So certainly he's somebody that, regardless of where he bats in that side, I'm certain that he's going to do well. He's a very selfless character, to be honest, in terms of always looking to play for the team. And for him, I know that results matter, and not just his results in terms of performances, but results in terms of the team, because he's somebody that lives and breathes West Indies cricket. So for me, Shai slots in at 4, and he will hold that batting order together. And in recent times, we also see him be able to go through the gears, because that's a question that people have had. Usually say, well, he bats in one gear, and in terms of his strike rate, it's not really gotten past that 100 mark in some of the ODIs that he's played. But no, in recent times, we see him go through those gears, get into second gear, get into third gear, and really, I guess, elevate the score almost. Nicholas Pooran, for me, comes down there as well, batting at 5. Rovman Powell, he's
big man,
in there
Rovman,
as
the
well.
vice
So
captain.
yeah, has to be in there. So Rovman is there. Jason Holder, Akil Hussain, that spin factor for me as well. Can open with the ball, can hold things tight down in the middle overs as well. Romario Shepherd, he gets included for me also in that starting 11. Alzarri Joseph, opening bowler for me, must start with that ball. Fantastic. Alzarri, in terms of his form, has been honestly superb for me. His pace is up. He's been bowling good lines and lengths. He has to get there. And I'm also going to include Yannick Carrera as well in that 11, giving me that leg spinning option. Bowling in Zimbabwe, I think for me, he could probably be crucial. I know that he's not necessarily maybe picked up as many wickets as people might be looking for him to pick up, but I'm looking at the economy rate that he's been going at in recent times, and it's been just maybe around that 4 mark. So I would say maybe 3.5 to 4 across his overs, and I think maybe in those middle overs he can keep things tight. You always tell yourself that you want a leg break bowler as well in your side, because usually they are wicket taking bowlers. So for me, he gets included in my 11 as well.
All right, so you leave out Roston Chase, who's in captaining the side, against you in the last few ODIs. So that's a big decision. But do you think, I feel that they might rotate Roston Chase and some other guys. For example, someone like for example, if it's spinning track, then you might want that right arm off spin option, and you might get Roston Chase in. You have Yannick Carrier, you have Akil Hussain, and just get a Roston Chase if you see the conditions are drier on the dry side. And again, another option that I think we have left out, and that is KEEMO Paul. His comeback after a long time. But yeah, it makes sense. Alzarri Joseph, you simply cannot keep him out. So, but what are your thoughts about KEEMO Paul?
KEEMO Paul is a fantastic cricketer, fantastic thinking cricketer as well, especially in limited overs format of the game. A couple of persons have been questioning how he found his way into the side. But one thing I know about him is that he's a talent, and whenever he's given an opportunity, he usually shows up. And I do think that probably he might get included as well going across those matches for the qualifiers, as we start to not necessarily see a few tired legs, but as we start to see pitches do different things, because he's somebody that has the variations with the ball as well. So he's going to come and give you that seam of option, pace on the ball, but then he's also going to come and give you your cutters in there as well with the bat. He's somebody that will score runs as well. So I do believe that he should probably get an opportunity, depending on how those services are over in Zimbabwe as well, as we go through those qualifiers.
All right. So if we quickly sum up in a nutshell, you're playing 11 for the World Cup qualifiers. How does it look? It looks like, for example, opening, it's Brandon King alongside Carl Mears, right? One down, Shamar Brooks, the stabilizer. The number 4, it's Shai Hope, another stabilizer and a very important member. At number 5, we've got with some experienced member, the former captain, Nicholas Pooran, and the current vice captain, Rovman Powell. 7 and 8, 7, another former captain, Jason Holder, Big Jace. And number 8, Akil Hussain. That's a great choice. So number 9, 10. Now you told that Alzarri is mandatory. So number 9, for example, is Alzarri Joseph. So 10 and 11, is it Yannick Carrier and Romario Shepherd, right?
Well, it depends, because Romario Shepherd is that, I guess, that floating cricketer, almost depending on how things are going for you. If you want somebody to put some impetus into the innings, he's going to get elevated up the order. If not, you're going to have that whereby Shai Hope, if he's batting through with Pooran, etc., you might find Shepherd obviously dropping further down the order. So for me, it's a case whereby you might find Romario Shepherd floating anywhere between, let's say, 7 down to 10 almost, because I think that Carrera probably will come at 11 in that side. But Romario Shepherd for me is that floater, so I don't have him as a set position as a batter, but I think that the position of the game will determine, how far up that order he comes up.
And there's another character very much similar to Romario Shepherd in terms of the roles and abilities, and that is Odean Smith. He can click that 140 case, and he can bat as well, smack the ball out of the park really hard. And that's he's missing from the ODI World Cup squad. I understand his performances haven't been as par as what we know Odean Smith is. So, what are your thoughts? Like, it's a tough time for Big Odean, but it's an opportunity to do better and come back again, right?
Yeah, certainly, obviously, an opportunity to obviously put in some performances otherwise, and come back into the squad at some stage. But obviously, I guess as you mentioned, maybe his performances haven't been what the West Indies have been hoping for him in recent times, especially with the bat in hand. And I think that is why somebody like Romario Shepherd might have gotten the nod, because in terms of the roles that both of them play, they're, funny enough, exactly the same in terms of that medium pace option, heavy type of ball, and then with the batting option, obviously looking to just, clear the boundaries here, there, and everywhere. But I think that in recent times, Shepherd has probably been a little more consistent in doing that than Romario Shepherd. Yes, they both get out very often in terms of going for those big shots, but I just think that, Shepherd has been slightly more consistent in doing it. And I think he also accesses more of the field as well in going after those boundaries. So Odean Smith, for me, obviously, down the ground towards the leg side, those areas. I think that Romario Shepherd possesses just a bit more in terms of the accessing of the offside, especially also when it comes to those scoring options. Odean Smith, yes, can score through the offside, but I think that Romario Shepherd does it a little more consistently than Smith, and that is why maybe he's gotten the nod. So I think it's just a case of the performances for Odean Smith in recent times is why he's been left out of his squad, but still a fantastic cricketer.
All right, so that's the thing what Joel says. Joel, like I come to another very important point, and that is there's been a lot of questions in the past few years. I say like players like Andre Russell, Shimron Hetmyer, Sunil Narine. Like we all know that once they donned the maroon jersey, but now they're playing franchise tournaments all around the world. And recently, what I got to hear, and that was Daren Sammy recently spoke to them, and there were some positive signs. There were some positive signals coming from these sort of players. So, any insider news that you can give to the fans, all those who are hearing, can we see Andre Russell once again? Maybe after during the India series, or maybe in the ODI World Cup, which is slated at October, or some other series, or someone like Shimron Hetmyer, who has been doing some stupendous job in the IPL for Rajasthan Royals.
That's an interesting one. I think that is one of the biggest questions that we have right now in the Caribbean. Will we see these guys make their way back into the fold? Yes, Daren Sammy did speak to the fact that he's been having conversations with them, and he's been saying that the conversations have been very positive as well. Will we see them? I am not sure if we will or when we will, but I think that is a good sign and a good start in the sense that I think that a lot of the relationships have to be repaired with these guys, between these guys and West Indies cricket to start with, because it doesn't make sense getting them back into the cricket if we're still going to experience the same issues that they had before. So I think that it's a good start in terms of having the conversations, seeing where these guys are at in terms of what they're thinking, whether or not they want to come back in a cricket capacity or whether they want to come back in a mentorship capacity as well, because I think that not all of them should probably come back maybe in a cricketing capacity given the stage of their career that they're at. And if we're looking to the future and looking to, move the young blood coming through the team, certain roles are already being filled by some young talents. So I think that not everyone should come back in a cricketing capacity, but certainly there is room for them to be in West Indies cricket, given what they've been able to contribute before, given the type of talent that we know that they possess, and given the information that I believe that they can hand over to a lot of the guys coming through the system as well. But certainly it's good signs to see that they still have an interest in the development of West Indies cricket and still have an interest in Caribbean cricket on a whole.
Yeah, that's the thing, and let's hope. But because there's also another thing. If these cricketers are coming back, and all of a sudden there are cricketers who are performing a day in and day out in the domestic circuit, you see like Ali Kathanze, he's been superb. You talk about Akeem Jordan, like Kevin Sinclair's. These are the ones who has been doing good, and they also want to represent West Indies. So that's a question, and we'll see how things fare up. But I have got a brink of hope when Daren Sammy is around the West Indies coaching management staff. Well, let's see how things unfold. But for now, before we sign off, there's a few more assignment for you, Joel, and that is you need to build ODI 11. That is an all-time West Indies ODI 11. It can include Sir Vivian Richard. It can include the universe boss Christopher Henry Gale, and it can. So it's your opinion. It's your thoughts. I'm gonna throw a bit of a challenge towards you.
All right, so an all-time West Indies 11.
Yeah,
All right, so
ODI.
you mentioned the name for sure, ODI 11, yeah. So for sure you mentioned one and I will call Chris Gale. He's at the top for me. So I'm going to go with the openers being Chris Gale and Desmond Haynes. So those are who start off for me. 3, 4, 5 is an interesting one. I might probably go with Sir Vivian Richards, Brian Lara, and I might probably also have Sir Clive Lloyd in there as well. So that's my top 5. I would
Who are the bowlers? Who are the bowlers? Who are the bowlers? They're all scared, man.
So
they won't come.
I'm going to have, in terms of all-rounders, for sure, I'm going to have Carl Hooper in there. So that is a bowling option going for me as well. So I'm going to have Carl Hooper in there. My keeper is, I have a loving for Dinesh Ramdin. I'm going to have to throw Dinesh Ramdin into there as my keeper. Fantastic hands, very crafty as a batter down in that middle order, can really access the field, especially that offside. I'm going to probably tell myself that these are going to be some very nice, fast bowling friendly conditions. So I'm going to go with Joel Garner, Michael Holding, Curtly Ambrose, and Courtney Walsh.
Oh my goodness! Why not we hand over the trophy beforehand, before this tournament starts? Oh goodness! Now that is a bowling pair. You are any batter, they'll be scared, they'll be afraid, man. Tall, lanky faces hitting the deck. Someone swinging, oh big. All right, so there you hear, guys. That is the ODI 11, all-time ODI 11 of West Indies, from Joel Manning. And Joel, before we sign off, we'd like to congratulate you for all your upcoming interviews and whatever you have achieved so far. Right, and also all the best to Cricket West Indies. We'll be cheering that West Indies, and may the best team wins. But yeah, obviously they without West Indies and Sri Lanka, the World Cup wouldn't be World Cup, right? So that's the thing for sure.
An absolute pleasure being here, Arjun. Yep, hopefully, the performances from West Indies put smiles on everybody's faces, including yours, and we can see them playing in that ODI World Cup later on this year.
Yeah, definitely. West Indies side who all like we see the characters DJ Bravo, Karan Pollard, jovial guys. Always love to have fun and banter and win trophies. And we keep on seeing the banters with Bravo and Pollard. That is one of the best things. So yeah, without West Indies, cricket is not cricket. So that is one of the things. The CPL is also in the line. So if West Indies can make through the World Cup, and then the CPL party is gonna be getting bigger and better. So we'll have a quick chat about before CPL as well and other tournaments, whatever's happening. So for sure. And until then, keep tuning to Cricket Tribune and keep following Joel Manning and his beautiful work with his vocabulary, his accent, and the work he does. Thank you so much. Thank you, Joel, and see you soon once again.